Good morning everyone, Tater here. Welcome to Tater Games. Today we are making an entire level using only free assets. Let's do it. So I got this request that someone said, I challenge you to make a level using only free assets, to which I said, banana bread. Banana bread's gonna be this channel's thing. Oh no. Ah well, embrace the meme. Anyway, let's get straight into it. So I've made you guys a little bit of a time lapse because it's quite boring talking about it and doing little tiny steps. So time lapse thing should be pretty cool, I thought. And so I've made that, and that's going to take around 1 minute to 2 minutes or something like that. And I hope you guys all enjoy it. Roll the next clip, Stephen. Gary, sorry. Hope you guys all enjoyed that. That's only like 2 minutes or something of this video, so I gotta fill in the rest. And basically I was just going to go through the video kind of with you guys, but not really. You guys have just seen it. You guys know what I was doing. Anyway, so we start off, first thing, sand, terrain, easy, mesh, mold, sculpt, a little bit of a terrain. When it comes to sand, of course, you don't want any really steep edges for anything. Sand never behaves like that. Again, you can be ultra unrealistic. I decided one of the first things that I like to get correct is the lighting and the way that the scene is kind of laid out. If you just have your sand, your sky, your camera, you can pretty much start creating lighting from then, and that's pretty much what I did. I created lighting, I created all the post-processing, and the reason is because afterwards you have all these assets that just don't fit the scene. But it's not something you can necessarily see. You think it can fit the scene, but it just doesn't, and so you have to do a little bit of editing towards it that will make it fit the scene a little bit better. So coming up with your image effects, coming up with what you want your scene to look like, is quite important at a very early stage. Then afterwards, of course, you can go in and see, oh, this rock just doesn't fit when I placed it in. So what I'm going to do is change the texture of the rock, so every time I put it in, it's going to fit within the scene. So a lot of the rocks they were too sort of brown and dark and musky, where I wanted a sort of a smoothish, it has a bit of glare to it, has a bit of smoothness to it, has a bit of metallicness to it, so it kind of looks like a big chunk of metal. But that's what I wanted, and I eventually got that by changing the color as well. I could change the color, improve the orange, improve the tint to like an orange color, and then the rocks look really good after that. One of the things I noticed was the skybox was actually completely and utterly dim, and wasn't actually bright enough for the camera to pick it up as a really hot thing. And so within the skybox, of course, I just changed the exposure of the material, and so the sun and everything that was bright kind of lights up, and everything that was darker lights up only a little bit. Color grading is so much fun. I love it, and in this I can see. Oh, I know what I was thinking there. Color grading, I kind of learned from, I think, the Sam and Nico channel. They do teach a lot there. Rocket Jump as well teaches a lot, and their color grading tutorials is applied to film, but you can also apply it to games because the tools are extremely similar. So post-processing tools are actually really, really similar to you know, Adobe Premiere. And some of the stuff that they offer is like the color wheels is the coolest thing to do. One of the rules of thumb is that you always want colors to kind of go opposite each other. I know there are 3 color wheels, but what I like to do for the, I think it's Gamma one, I always like to raise it. You raise it to whatever you want. Use the Gamma as kind of like your standing stone, your control the variable. And then the other 2 work around it. So you just choose a color that you think will fit the scene very nicely. And then for the other 2, you start to go on opposite ends of each other for these other 2. And so 2 of them should be matching, and the other one should be opposite of what they're matching. Next, I placed an FPS camera in there so we get a nice human being perspective, and you can walk around and take a look around at things, which is pretty good. And then, of course, we add our first ever model, which is the ATM machine. Why? Because what's a deserty world without an ATM machine? Next, of course, we added some rocks, and of course, when you take a look at those rocks, they're very shiny rocks. And what I did to get this effect is because I think it goes without saying that any rock in the desert would be hit by a hell of a lot of sand. And so my thinking behind it is that rocks in the desert should be shiny. It also amplifies the sort of the sun that you get, the amount of light that you're getting. So when it hits the rock, of course, it comes towards you. When it hits the sand, it comes towards you. You just see a lot of depth thanks to that lighting and that sun. So when it hits the rock, I wanted a metallic feel. So they had legacy shaders on there, which I don't like, but I do like the standard shaders that come with the new version of Unity, because you can change the smoothness, and you can also change how metallic it is based on the bump maps and normal maps. And so that's pretty much all I did. So it has a lot of shadow and a lot of light coming from the sun's direction or the light direction, and a lot of shadows on the opposite side. It just helps making the sun look stronger and feel like there's heat in the scene. I just made a little bit of a map, and I'm not actually very pleased with the map itself. The map is kind of stained. But the reason why I would say is because all the rocks look too similar, the map looks too linear, there's no changes, there's not enough human elements in there, but that all comes with using free assets. Free assets aren't the best. Really not the best. Like, I would have used a lot of assets from a single developer if I could, but unfortunately all the free assets were sort of an introduction to the developer itself, and those cost money, and quite a bit of money actually, I'm going to say. So the guy who made all the sand also made quite a few other elements. Anyway, now we have rocks, sun, sand, and some ATM machines. We just need a little bit of foliage, and you're probably thinking, well, there shouldn't be foliage in the scene, it's a desert scene. Well, yeah, but there is also water in the desert scene, if you've seen what I make. And when it comes to adding water, wherever there is water, there is always either wildlife or foliage or something like that, usually. Anyway, the idea is to keep the foliage around the watered areas and sort of make them dribble out a little bit. So like when you put a bit of paper onto some liquid, the liquid often like climbs up it sort of, and so I just made the grass sort of climb from the water line, sort of climbing out and getting less and less as you go into the drier areas. And then of course the trees as well behave in a very similar way, except they might start a little bit further up and continue up. And then I just added a few tents because that's kind of all that's needed after that is something human other than an ATM machine. And then I added the turrets, and I was just getting bored at this point, so I decided, hang on, screw it. I'm just going to add all this stuff and leave it at that. So that's pretty much what I ended up doing. It was a lot of fun to make. Anyway, that's all from me. I'm not going to take up any more of your time because you guys should be being productive this weekend and you guys should be getting some cool stuff done, and I hope to see it all. If you want to message me with any of the cool stuff, you can always head down to my Discord channel, which is in the link in the description. PM me, Discord message, whatever, direct message me. I don't mind. I love seeing you guys' stuff. I love hearing about you guys and what you're doing and your work and your ideas. I get a lot of questions as well. If you have any questions, just ask me that. But other than that, thank you very much for watching, guys. Go have a productive weekend, and I'll see you on Monday, where we talk about something cool. See you then.